Somebody wise told me that leads are the oxygen of your business. Without those, you lose your breath. You do not exist. So you must continuously and consistently generate leads.
Welcome back to the Seven Figure Flipping Podcast. Today we have something very exciting. What you're about to hear is my presentation from the Scale Summit event we held earlier this year, where I broke down how to build a marketing machine that can take your business all the way to $2 million and beyond. We're talking about the real numbers, the strategies that actually work, and the mistakes most investors make when it comes to marketing. So if you've ever wondered how to scale predictably and profitably, this is it. Let's jump in.
The next presentation I'm going to bring up is going to be marketing for scale, how to achieve scale. A lot of people asking about, okay, what do I need to do on marketing? And that's what I want to be able to talk about with you guys. $2 million. Okay. That number means nothing to most of you. I'm going to tell you why it means something to me. Direct to seller. If you notice a theme here, and I know a lot of you are buying deals off the MLS, which is totally fine. I know a lot of you are buying direct from wholesalers, also totally fine. Everybody that has been on this stage, though, has talked about marketing. And I've talked to many of you, even those of you who are in our community, about going direct to seller and having that component at your business, in your business when the time is right. So that's what I'm going to talk about today, how to take your marketing to $2 million top line, but not just $2 million top line, also profitable. I literally just took this snapshot and added it to my presentation. I have my deal board on here, and you can see our fee size on our deals, and you can see my actual profit and loss statement. Real. It's all real. I wouldn't even know how I would make that not real, but that is from my QuickBooks right now. Let's talk about where the road to $2 million starts. In every business, there are certain numbers that we can use to plan, predict, and project. Set a path so that we can start our business down that. Nothing's linear, of course. So along the way, you measure and understand your numbers so that you can optimize as you build your machine. In this case, we're talking about a total revenue target of $2 million, which is what I want to use as the model to talk about how we could scale our marketing up to that. So we have some assumptions here, though. If $2 million in revenue, we have to have an average deal size. We have to understand what kind of profit we're trying to make per deal. I'm going to use very conservative numbers. Some of you wouldn't even buy a deal if you were making $25,000 on it. I know because I've talked to some of you about it. But in this case, let's keep the numbers simple. The assumption here is that we're going to make $25,000 average profit per deal, which means when you do that math, we need 80 deals in a year. That means we need to be closing 6 to 7 deals per month. And in order to do that predictably and consistently, you absolutely have to have a marketing machine. You have to. Somebody was talking, I think Sarah, who's on here or was on here, was like, I'm buying from wholesalers in the MLS, and you don't control it and it starts to dry up. And then what do you do next? You don't control your marketing. It's hard to make it predictable and scalable. So let's talk about some of the things that most investors get wrong, to include yours truly. As I went on my journey, the first thing we do is we chase shiny object marketing tactics. If we talk about today, what do we see today? AI cold callers. We see some marketing technique that has a weird name that doesn't actually mean anything. And then we take our energy, time, and effort and we spend money on it, and it may or may not get some form of a result. But what we really do is we take our eye off of the thing that we're doing that works. Fundamentally, when we talk about marketing, if you are doing no marketing today, you shouldn't turn on 4 different marketing channels, and I'll talk about some of those in the coming slides, and then see which one performs best. You should do some market analysis, do the marketing, master the marketing channel, understand the numbers, which we'll go through today, and optimize your business to be profitable in that marketing channel. Once you're profitable in that marketing channel, Andy talked about direct mail. He's been doing direct mail for 20 years. And then he added Google Ads. So he put his face on a piece of mail and said, "Hi, I'm Andy the home buyer." And that was working. He optimized it, he scaled it up. It was still profitable. He kept going. And then he added PPC. That allowed him to gain the next level of scale. But people get it wrong when they do a marketing channel. It's not optimized. It's a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning I spend $1, I only get $1 back. And then they add something else, but they keep that one going. Now you have this split effort. You lack focus. You lack consistency. You can't scale that. You'll be fumbling around. Relying on one channel is fine until you get it optimized. Once you're over, some of you are over 50 deals annually. If you're doing one channel, you have risk. If you have 50 deals a year on one channel and you're completely optimized, it's likely you need to add a second channel if you're looking to grow your business. And even if you're not looking to grow your business, you have to understand that there's risk in that marketing channel. Take cold calling, for example. In 2019, 2020, 2021, people would get a bulk cold dialer, Ready Mode, Mojo, you name it, and they would load up a list of tens and hundreds of thousands of seller records, and they would call, and they'd hire big cold calling teams from overseas, and they'd be calling all these people. And people have very profitable companies doing that until something outside of their control came in, changed the industry by putting in controls that was preventing spam callers and robo dialers and all these other things, and basically shut that channel down through 2022. And I think Andy's comment was marketers ruin everything. And that was the case for many people who were just on cold calling. So that can happen for other people. Now, fundamentally, it's highly unlikely that, for example, there's going to be a control put on direct mail where you're not allowed to send a piece of mail to somebody. That's been happening for the existence of the United States. Maybe how you can do it, how you send mail, what you can put in the mail could change, but that's probably less risk. So we think about, as we are at scale, we've optimized a channel, we have one channel, there's risk. Starting to gain some omnipresence in your marketing and having multi-channel marketing becomes necessary at scale. And we are talking about some level of scale, not just a deal a year or a deal a month. We're talking about scaling. And then lastly, you don't build a system or treat marketing like an investment. And this is where we go wrong. I think Simmons, who's on this call, has twisted my arm so many times talking about the need for investing in marketing, but doing it consistently over time so that you genuinely understand what your numbers are. If you turn on, I see tons of investors do this, they turn on a marketing channel for 30 to 60 days and they don't get a result, or they feel like they didn't get a result. Now, a couple of things could happen there. It could be your sales process, but I see a lot of bad salespeople closing deals in today's market. So we'll throw that out. What the real thing that's typically happening is investors don't understand cash conversion cycles. And I'll tell you from our data that if I send mail out today, it takes multiple touches in mail for that person to call us. It's not going to happen. If you send 5,000 pieces of mail, 5,000 people do not call you back. Maybe 25 to 50 people call you back. Then half of those people do not really want you to send them mail, and they tell you that. Stop sending me mail, take me off your list. And the other half are interested. And those are the people we would call a lead. When the lead comes in our database, from the time we get a lead to the time we sign a contract to buy a house, on average is 59 days. We have some that are same day, 0 days, and we have some that are 374 days. And we're continuing to follow up with them. But the average is 59 days. So if I spent that money on mail today and 60 days later I sign a contract, I'm already 60 days from the time I spent money to being closer to getting money. From the time I sign a contract to the time I realize money in my bank account is going to be an additional 21 days or 3 months or 6 months, depending on your exit strategy. So if I wholesale that house, typically it'll be another 21 days. So now we're plus 60 days. I spent money, and at the bare minimum, I'm 60 days until money comes back in to my business. So if I were to spend money today and next month and then go, oh my gosh, it's not working well, and shut it all down and then keep talking to those people, and then all of a sudden I close a deal 90 days into that. But I shut my marketing off. So then what happens is my lead generation dries up. Somebody wise told me that leads are the oxygen of your business. Without those, you lose your breath. You do not exist. So you must continuously and consistently generate leads. So these are the things that people are getting wrong, and it's really just a lack of clarity on what it should look like. And of course, we've talked about this at nauseum, and we're going to continue to talk about it, is you have to track your numbers. You have to understand what the costs are. Okay, so this is my framework built off the backs of all the mentors I've had in the community, the CEO marketing framework. Number one is know your numbers. Know how much money, how much runway for marketing that you have to spend over a long enough period of time. If I'm going to start marketing from scratch today or increase marketing, I'm going to commit to it for a minimum of 4 to 6 months. So I have to be committed to it, and then I have to measure it on a monthly, on a weekly, and a monthly and a quarterly basis to really get an understanding of whether or not something is performing or not performing. And building the foundation starts with that plan, and then it concludes with I've committed and executed the 6 months. I had consistency in the lead generation, and I dialed that in. I got the right conversions. I got the right return on investment. In marketing direct to seller, if you are not making $3 for every dollar you spend, you're going to have a very hard time being profitable. You can do a whole lot of deals on a 2-to-1 marketing return, but you're not gonna make much money. So you want to aim to make at least $3 for every dollar that you spend. Now, if you're doing 10, 15, $20 million a year, that can change a little bit. But nobody on here told me they were doing that. So you really want to aim for at least a 3-to-1 return. Master the marketing channel. That's part of the foundation. Master the conversions, track the numbers, and then you expand with omnipresence. When I say omnipresence, Andy talked about doing direct mail. They see his company in light. Now, some people pick up their mail and they throw it right into the trash. If that's you, if you're a junk mail right into the trash person, put a yes in the chat. I'm certain, I can't see the chat, but I'm certain some of you said yes, is my guess. So then that means I'm never even getting an opportunity with that particular seller, but I'm spending money on you. Omnipresence is adding the next channel once you've optimized everything else in this framework. So you add the next channel. Now I'm on an ad on your TV. or I'm on a digital ad on the internet where you spend time. It could be a Meta Facebook ad, it could be a Google ad, PPC, pay per click. Now you're seeing me, you pick up your mail, you see my company. You go on the internet, you see my company. You go on the TV, you see my company. Now you've created omnipresence. And what that does for you is it strengthens one marketing channel, strengthens the other marketing channel. Now, I want to back up because I'm not saying everybody should go spend $80,000 a month on marketing out of the gate if you're not there already, but that's the aim point. Okay. And then something that's seldomly talked about and I thought illuminated very well from Andy is having multiple exit strategies. That's fancy words for being able to wholesale a house, to flip a house, to keep it as a rental, to buy it and just list it on the MLS, which we've labeled a whole tail, to do a creative finance deal, to do any kind of exit strategy, meaning what do I do with that property on the back end? Now, you don't want to start from zero, going flipping and wholesaling and doing everything. We're talking about scaling responsibly, which means at each step, I want to optimize the thing and then add the next thing, optimize the thing and then add the next thing. And even in our own community, we've seen people scale their businesses up extremely fast and have to wind it all back and restart in some cases because they didn't really spend the time to optimize it or they didn't really know their numbers. So this framework is each one of these things is a component that is important. You can't just do one without the other. Let's talk numbers. Now, I'm not going to give you, this isn't going to be a pep talk. It's going to be a lot of data here because we're talking about marketing. And frankly, I like data. I'm a data guy. So if we want to do $2 million, and I already said we'll make 25 grand a deal, our cost per lead on average, let's say, is around $250. And I'll go deeper into this for different marketing channels. And if we're even bad at sales, 25 leads to a signed contract is more than reasonable, which means it would cost you in marketing spend $6,250 to make 25,000. That means that if I wanted to do $2 million on $25,000 a deal for 80 deals, means I would have to spend $500,000 on marketing to make $2 million. No, for some people, that sounds absolutely crazy. Doesn't mean you need 500 grand right now. You can step that up over time as it brings you deals, but you need to understand how to think about it like this funnel. So if you don't track these things, if you don't know what your cost per lead is, if you don't know what your average profit per deal is, because you might plan for 25 grand a deal and you may be hitting 15 because you have an inefficiency in your flipping operation, or maybe you're hitting more, which would be great. You have to know these numbers. If you know these numbers, then you can continue to project. What could happen if you were doing better than projection is you would be doing more deals and you would create chaos and inefficiency in your system. You'd be buying more flips and you don't have enough contractors or enough crews, something like that. So that's why whether you're doing not as good or you're doing even better than what you're projecting, you have to track it. You have to know. If you cannot measure it, you cannot manage it either. At scale, when you come out of your business, you work on your business and you start to have people put their hands onto things instead of you, you start to lose some of your sight picture as an owner. And the only way that you can keep a good situational awareness on the sight picture is having good reported data and numbers, and also getting your hands in there every once in a while to inspect what you expect. Okay, let's look at leads per deal and how they can vary. Somebody made a comment on, hey, today is not about quantity, it's about quality. And what I would argue is it's always about quantity and quality. It's never about just quality or just quantity. That is that's a bit of a trap. Okay. Lead quality matters. It's something you measure. Is it hot, warm, or cold? The market conditions matter. Is your market transacting? Is your market have a lot of demand? Does your market have an affordability issue? Different marketing channels, different things that you can do to get a response from potential sellers will respond differently in different areas. If you go try to send a whole bunch of direct mail in the state of California at scale to a bunch of absentee owners, you may not get the same result as if you did it in Gary, Indiana. That's why you have to measure the numbers. The other thing that varies here is your sales process and your follow up system. This is the argument of like, hey, is marketing working or is sales working or not working? These two things work together. Your ability to have a conversation and follow up and take care of your leads. Because one thing to generate a lead, I could come into any of your businesses today and spend money and generate leads into your business, but that doesn't guarantee you deals. You then have to care for those leads. It's like that leads like somebody set a baby on your doorstep and it's now yours to take care of until it's 18 and it's out the back end of your business. So you have to have a sales infrastructure and follow-up system. That could just be you and one other person. But when those leads come in, are we following up with them daily, weekly, monthly? Are we staying in front of those leads at all times, or are leads falling through the crack? So that is a variable that will determine whether or not or what the number of leads per deal is for you. And then also exit strategies. If you can do a flip or a wholesale or a creative finance deal or a rent to own or whatever the exit strategy is, the more tools in your tool belt as you grow your business is going to make your marketing more efficient. If I market to it or retail, some of you might even be agents or have agents on your team. If I can monetize more leads, then my marketing return on investment will be better. So the exit strategies available to you are going to be absolutely critical as you grow your business. Okay, so if we look at a couple of these examples, not all marketing channels perform the same from a quality perspective. Greg made a comment in the chat like all about quality leads. Maybe, but if you can predict it and you know and you can build a system around it, as an example, I used to do bulk cold calling in 2021. We stopped doing cold calling completely. We went almost exclusively digital with direct mail. And then of recent time, I started to do cold calling again, combined with text messages in a different way where it was one to one, click to call, click just direct text messages, not in bulk, combined with direct mail to create Omnipresence. And we're spending about six to $7,000 a month in marketing to do between 175 and 200K a month in revenue. It's extremely efficient. And if you take that comment at face value that, hey, we don't want low quality leads, well, you would consider cold calling a low quality lead because it's going to take 80 cold call leads to sign one contract, whereas it's only going to take a few direct mail leads to sign that same contract. Google Ads PPC, you have to spend more money on, but those leads are typically going to be a lot hotter. You're not going to need as many of them. And these numbers are extremely conservative. These are like, several people getting 8 leads to every contract in Google Ads PPC. It's not unheard of. So these are conservative for planning factors. Okay. Let's just kind of talk about the lead cost, right? So Facebook ads, you could get leads for $20, $50, $100, depends on your market. But there's like this scale of cost and how quality. So cost of lead and quality of lead. So if you looked at cold calling, for example, low cost lead, but it's likely a lower quality lead. Same with text messaging as compared to Google Ads PPC, which can be the highest cost lead. But think about it. If somebody is having a distress situation going on to get on the internet, let's say, let's use, I love the plumbing example. Your house is spewing stuff everywhere. You need a plumber. You go on to Google. You say, I need a plumber in this area right now. Then people come up like you. There is no other option other than getting the plumber to make the thing stop doing the bad thing that it's doing. So you're going to do it. It's just a matter of who's going to pick up the phone first and who you can get a hold of. That's a super high intent lead. It's the same thing for Google Ads PPC. If somebody says, I need to sell my house right now in this city, and then you paid for to be in first position on a Google ad, they see your company, they click it, and now they're on the phone with you, and those can be one or two call closes. So you have to understand that the average cost per lead, you might pay more for a Google Ads PPC lead, but you're going to get a higher quality lead overall in general. You might pay less for a cold calling lead. To be a lower quality lead, you need a lot more of those to close a deal. So you have to think about it from where your business is at and what you want to invest your time and effort and money in. A lot more time and effort with cold call leads, less money. Okay, let's talk about starting. I know some of you are great house flippers who maybe aren't marketing direct to seller. One thing that we love is what we call driving for dollars, where you have either a system with people driving around and feeding you addresses of physical distress. You can see it with your eyes. It's a property in an area that you want to buy houses in. Then that is like the best. You've already got your eyes on it. You already know there's distress. You get that person's name and then you get in front of them with a marketing piece. That could be a call, that could be a text, that could be a piece of direct mail. You could leave a door hanger. There's a lot of different things you could do, but that's very targeted and you're targeting very specifically physical distress. Um, that is a relatively low cost because you're not going to be able to you're not targeting everything. It's not going to be a lot of direct mail, which is going to cost you maybe 50 cents for a postcard or $1 for a letter. It's not going to take much to skip trace one record for 10 cents and call that person. It's not going to take much just to pick up your phone and text, skip trace that person and then text them. So it's low cost, but highly targeted. And same thing with cold calling. Cold calling can be, depending on the list that you get, can be very targeted. You're just picking up the phone and it's a marketing channel. Frankly, that's as old as time, talking to another person, in this case, in a digital means through a phone. And then simple direct mail, and I have niche list on here. Direct mail in at low scale because you don't want to go compete with Andy who's sending 150,000 pieces of direct mail a month. So you go out and you get really niche data. And this could be foreclosure data, it could be probate data, it could be inheritance data, tax delinquent data, water shutoff list, anything that's targeted like that, that you get, especially if you can get the data direct from the source. So from the county, from the attorney websites, from the public notice websites, from the water shutoff guy. Sometimes the water shutoff guy will give you the water shutoff list. Sometimes the county will give it to you. You can do a Freedom of Information Act request. So if you can get good data in today's market and you can get in front of that data faster than everybody else, you can jumpstart your marketing or your next marketing channel and be really efficient and really effective. And then for many of you, systemizing your referrals and your networking. Are you going to RIAs? Are you networking with realtors in an intentional way where you're tracking it and you're doing it on a consistent basis where you can make it as predictable as possible? That could be a very fruitful channel that you spend little to no money on to really get the money into your business so that you can jumpstart the rest of your marketing. Okay. And then I put a CRM for pipeline tracking. Now, when I say a CRM, you don't have to go spend thousands of dollars on a CRM, but you do need the ability to track leads. If you do marketing and you don't track leads, that is a recipe for disaster. And if you want to spend money on marketing and you don't want to talk to the leads, you could just give the money to me. I would be happy to have it because otherwise you'd be setting it on fire. And then when you are marketing and you're adding a channel or you're scaling a channel, you should be looking at those results on a weekly basis. Now, I know Mike said, like, you don't want to be in there every day, and I agree with that. I'm not saying to take action on the results, but you need to understand what the norm is. I need to see what I should be seeing. If you're seeing 10, 10, 10, 0, what happened at 0? Then you start to explore. All KPIs do is give you a place to look to figure out what's going on. Is it working? Is it not working? And then, as we talked about, is you must have a lead management and sales process. Now, when I say that, don't some of your minds are like, oh, what is this process? It doesn't have to be complicated. When somebody calls, we guarantee we're going to pick up the phone. Like that's part one. If I send direct mail, you must answer the phone. I know it sounds ridiculous, but there are investors all the time who miss phone calls and don't answer the phone. And if we go back to the plumbing example, we know that if somebody's genuinely ready to go, and by the way, they're not ready to go Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern. They're ready to go when it's the most inconvenient time for you. As somebody mentioned, Anna, 2.5 hours in somebody's house. It's never convenient. Because if you think about your seller, and we do this a lot when we talk about our marketing, who is it that we're talking to? Who is it that we're marketing to? What is their life like? Do they go to work every day, Monday to Friday? Do they work the mid shift? Do they work? And we're constantly trying to understand this. A lot of them are at work during the week and they want to talk to us on the weekend or during the nighttime. So all that stuff is a part of your lead management and sales process. Let's talk a little bit about omnipresence because there's this fence you're sitting on where you want to optimize one channel, but for example, if I send mail, some people throw it in their trash can as soon as they pick up the mail. And I know I could be missing out on that particular seller, even though I've already spent money on that. To optimize your marketing at scale, we talked really about two things. One is omnipresence, and the other part of it is multiple exit strategies. Those are the things that are going to create the efficiency in your business. Andy talked about direct mail at scale. I think he sends like somewhere between 75,000 and 150,000 pieces a month. So a person gets a card from Andy, then they turn their TV on and they see Andy's face on TV. Now, they'll see that phone number says call me on TV, but they might go back home and pick up the mail and go, oh, that was the same guy I saw on TV. Or they go to their kitchen, they pick up the mail and they say, that's the same guy I saw on TV. Huh. They must be legit because you guys know if you're talking to sellers, there's always a piece of credibility they're trying to figure out. Is this a scam? Are you real? What do you mean you could buy it for cash? What do you mean there are no commissions? Now, when they see Andy's omnipresence, meaning he's in multiple places, mail and TV, that TV is making that mail stronger. So if they pick up the phone off of the postcard because they saw somebody on TV, you're not going to necessarily know that, but that TV is strengthening the direct mail. And for us, we're on the internet digitally with what we call SEO, search engine optimization. So people can look at our website to determine if we're credible. That helps our direct mail. If they get a piece of mail from us, what do most people do? Hey, I'm thinking about calling this place. Let me look them up. Do they have reviews? Are there Google reviews? Do you have a Google My Business page? That is the power of omnipresence. Somebody could look us up, get our postcard, want to sell the house, go to the internet, and we don't have a presence, and then go, you know what? I don't trust that. That's a scam. I've already lost. So That's part of omnipresence. Now, in the age of digital, there's so much more you can do to create a higher level of efficiency on your marketing. If somebody comes to your website, you can run meta ads or Facebook ads and retarget them, meaning when they come to your website, there's something called a pixel on there. And then they go over to their Facebook page because if I look around anywhere I go, people are scrolling on their social media. It's just the way the world is today. So they go to their Facebook page, and then my ad follows them there based on some digital footprint from when they were on my website. You know that little button on your computer where it says, yes, allow all cookies? Those are the cookies, and they're following you around the internet. So that's the type of efficiency you can gain when you're scaling and have omnipresence in your business. That's how you start to produce the predictable results. Now, we talked a lot about when is the right time to add a channel. If your channel is getting a result, say 3 deals a month, and it's achieving that 3 to 1 return. So for every dollar you spent, you get $3 back. The question you ask yourself is, can I do more of the same thing and continue to get the 3 to 1 result? That's question number one. The answer is yes, do more of the same thing. If the answer is no, I've incrementally increased it and it has not improved my result over time, then that's when you start to add the second channel. So think about it just critically. If I just turn all this up now, I'll tell you what I did. At one point last year, I was spending, or not last year, a couple of years ago, I was spending 40, 50 grand a month. And I'm like, I can just double this and it will double my outcome. That's not necessarily true because you have infrastructure to receive those leads and take care of those leads. So incrementally growing it will allow you to grow your team and your conversions and every other piece of your business in line with the scale of your marketing. If you just scale your marketing, but you can't take care of the leads, then I know it seems like the obvious, but I did it. So that's my warning to you on that. Don't just go out and double your marketing spend because you want to go from $1.5 million in top line a year to $3 million in top line a year. It doesn't work in a linear way. Okay, let's talk a little bit about multiple exit strategies on your marketing. We were primarily wholesaling. If you think about wholesaling and just the function of it, I have to negotiate a deal so good that one of the flippers can buy it, they can make money, and I can make money. Now, have there been years where people were paying ridiculous amounts of money for deals and you're unsure how they're making money? No doubt about it. In today's market, I think by and large are a lot of sophisticated investors. I think a lot of the less sophisticated investors kind of got washed out because they didn't know their numbers well as the market changed. And it's hard to move a wholesale deal unless you have a good deal. So, and you honestly, you don't stick around in the industry a long time. Now, your goal as a wholesaler is to get the most money possible, no doubt about it. That is great, but somebody still has to buy your deal. And if you say your deal's worth 100 grand fixed up and you're selling it for 90, the likelihood somebody's going to buy it is slim to none. So if you think about wholesaling, you have to get a deal for incredibly cheap. Where people don't, what I see with wholesalers is they spend this money on marketing, they could get a deal, but they're $20,000 off from the seller. And they either aren't capitalized, meaning they can't get the money, they don't have hard money set up yet, they don't have private lenders set up yet, so they can't buy that deal. A lot of times, believe it or not, you can buy a deal and list it on the MLS without doing much to it, if anything at all, and still make 10, 15, or $20,000. You don't even have to be a professional rehabber to do that. And a lot of wholesalers that are professional and scaling their businesses have the ability to do that and have the access to capital to do that. So that alone could take your marketing from a 2 to 1 or a 3 to 1 return to a 4 or 5 to 1 return if you can add that exit. The same with a novation or a creative finance deal or adding potentially a flip arm. Now, there's a balance because if you are not set up to do rehabs or vice versa, you're not set up to do marketing and sales. Either one of those requires you to build systems, process, and team around to scale those things. So you have to really think critically about what you want to build into your business. But having multiple exit strategies to get scale is really important. I cannot think of a single investor who is doing just one thing, who's doing more than $1 million or $2 million a year or 100 deals, however you want to frame it. They're doing multiple things. And if you heard Mike's story and you heard Andy's story, they have done both. Mike was a house flipper and then he became a wholesaler, but he could still flip a house here and there when he needed to, albeit he doesn't want to and would try not to, I'm sure. But if a house comes through the pipeline that they can make $200,000 on and it's a monster deal, he's going to realize that revenue into his business. Or he's going to do a rent to own strategy or something else where the money is. He's going to maximize the spend on marketing. We're talking about scaling, not just marketing here. In order to scale, you have to make money and you have to be efficient in how you're doing it. And in order to do it uh, at a higher level and more, you're going to have multiple exit strategies, even if it's just being able to buy the house and list it. Um, that $250 a lead, that's $6,250 to sign that contract. Uh, you might also get to a point where you have tools in your tool belt where I can wholesale this house for $15,000 gross profit right now, or I can flip it and make 75 or 60 or 80, something like that. That's when you start to make CEO decisions on marketing. What is the threshold for my business to actually buy a house and rehab it and sell it in terms of profit made? Is it four times what I can make on a wholesale deal, five, six, whatever it is that you decide? But that's where you start to create more and more and more and more margin into your business. For us, we're not just wholesaling every house, we're able to do multiple exit strategies and be really efficient in our marketing spend. Okay. 1,000 leads, simple funnel math. Everything's a funnel. This is a marketing funnel. We get 1,000 leads. It's $250,000 in marketing spend. That would equate to 40 deals in our calculations or $1 million business, right? Some of you want $1 million business. That is at $25,000 average profit per deal. That is $1 million business. That might not look as linear though as you want. Your exit mix, meaning how you exited those properties on the back end, could be kind of like Andy said when he ran through his numbers from a decade ago. He was like, it was 25 wholesale deals, 10 flips, and 5 creative finance deals to create that profit. It's never as linear as you see on the internet. There's multiple things happening to realize that. Okay, 90-day scale plan. Number one, track your cost per lead. How many leads? If you're marketing right now, go look at your cost per lead. Go understand how many leads it takes you to get a deal, what your cost per deal is, and your ROI, your return on investment, meaning your return on your marketing spend per marketing channel. So if you're doing direct mail, what is it for direct mail? If you're doing cold calling, what is it for cold calling? If you're doing PPC, what is it for PPC? You might make your business more profitable just by doing this exercise and realizing that something isn't profitable and you just get rid of it and take that money and reallocate it to something that is very profitable. The other part, which we'll talk about here, is increasing your sales conversion in a later presentation to be more efficient. Go from 25 leads to getting the contract to 15 leads to getting a contract. That will create more net margin in your business. And my favorite probably is doubling down on what is working. Okay. So you can do more of what's working. You can do what you're doing, but better, or you can do new, more, better, or new. We often want to chase new, and that's usually the last thing we should be chasing. Like, do more of what's working or do the thing you're doing better. And I think just that simple, looking at your marketing from that perspective is really important. A year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, we were doing a lot of pay per lead, meaning we were paying somebody to give us leads. They were doing the marketing. We were using something called Need to Sell My House Fast, and we would get a lot of junk through that marketing channel. And I remember looking at our COO, Lindsay, and I'm like, we should get rid of Need to Sell My House Fast. Or she's like, I don't think that's true. We should look at the data because every time we get a deal, we make like 80 grand. And we went back and looked at the numbers, and it's like, holy crap, this is actually our best marketing channel. We're getting 4-to-1 return. Let's double down at that time. And we just did the same thing with direct mail. We were like, oh, these direct mail leads are like coming in too late and we can't help them. And then what we realized is we had 8 appointments and closed 4 deals. We're closing at a 50% rate and we weren't spending very much money on it. So, and then review your exits monthly. Don't just look at your marketing, but look at what exit strategy is getting you the biggest bang for your buck on those marketing channels. And really, I'll leave you with this from the marketing presentation is if you don't know your numbers, you guys have watched the Prophet with Marcus Lemonis. I think the show is called The Prophet. Like he's in there beating up business owners about knowing their numbers. Like you have to know your numbers. If you don't, you do not know your business. If you come and say, can you help me with my business? Can you take a look at it? But you can't tell me your own numbers. Like nobody can help you. You have to know your numbers. It is absolutely critical.
Thanks for tuning into that session. I hope you got some clarity on what it really takes to build a marketing engine that feeds your business consistently. If you're looking to use some of the marketing tools that we use in our business, check the links in the description below. And if you got value from this, make sure you keep listening here on the podcast and share this episode with someone else who needs to hear it. I'll see you on the next one.